In the last stream, we were working on setting up a system to allow us to produce these unassembled PCBs much more quickly and easily than the first time round when we were using the UV light box with etching acid. We now have this little setup right here with the assembly controller and the assembly laser that allows us to load up these empty PCBs directly into our input chest, and as a result, it will just process and output these unassembled PCBs. We now have 41 of them in total, and so the very first thing that I would like to work on in today's stream is seeing if we can't craft a full set of this pneumatic armor. To do so, we're going to need a bunch of these air canisters, as well as a couple of these finished PCBs. Of course, to do that, we do have to craft the unassembled PCBs with the transistors and capacitors, but in the last episode, we did make a bunch of extra transistors and capacitors, and so I'm fairly certain we should be able to craft quite a few of these at the start of the episode, and it looks like we only need one per piece of armor. Now, before we do any of this, we do have to get a full set of compressed iron armor, and I have a feeling that we probably don't have enough compressed iron to get us all the way through this craft, and so real quick, let's go ahead and drop a few stacks of iron up into here. Those should move in nice and quick, and thanks to the new volume upgrades that we installed in the last episode, I'm hopeful that we do have a decent amount of pressure banked up inside here, ready to produce all of that compressed iron, hopefully nice and quickly for us. While we wait for that to do its thing, we are also potentially going to need some leather armor as well, because we do need a full set of leather armor to make the full set of compressed armor. This is where things could get a little dicey for us, because we do have 39 rotten flesh here, but there's no way to make more rotten flesh. And I'm not sure if we have another alternative for making leather here. We can use the bundled flesh, which is, of course, what we're going to do. And there's also rabbit hide as well. The leather chickens do spawn naturally, and so we could go and try get a leather chicken potentially, because right now we can only make 18 of these, although that actually might be fine. It does say in here that we get 2 leather per, and so that is going to get us 36 leather in total, which is more than the 24 required to make a full set. And so real quick, if we just do one of these, that should, actually we didn't even need to accelerate it. I always forget that as soon as the first one is done, the rest are completed very quickly. That isn't correct. It says that 1 bundled flesh equals 2 leather, but I guess maybe that's a chance-based thing, because we only got 18 leather from, I think, 18 bundles, so it's more of a 1-to-1 setup there, and we're so close. We need 24, and we have 21, which is not ideal. It is going to get us the chest plate, it is also going to get us the leggings, and it is going to get us the boots, and now we're just 3 leather away from being able to make the helmet. Back up here, we should have more than enough compressed iron to instantly upcraft the chest plate, the boots, and the leggings into their compressed iron form. Boom. And I assume that it looks like this. It does boom. And then probably like this or like this. Boom. Perfect. From there, we should also be able, I think, to basically straight away here upgrade to the pneumatic version. We're going to need just a bunch of air canisters. 24, more than 24 actually in total. I thought it was going to be the same as usual, but no, there's quite a few required for the helmet here. We're going to need 4 plus 7 plus 7 plus 4, which is 22 air canisters in total. So we need 22 pipes. That's fine. We'll make 3 sets of those. And then from there, we should have basically everything, I think, to make 22 canisters. Do these stack? They do. Fantastic. That would have been a real pain in the backside if they didn't. But once we have 22 canisters, that should be everything for the boots, everything for the legs, and everything for the chest plate. We're just missing that little bit of leather to get us the pneumatic helmet. I do wonder if we can get night vision with the pneumatic helmet. That would be very helpful for us. But I'm hopeful that what we can do now is we can take these 3 and place them into a charging station. Now, I am going to make another charging station here, simply due to the fact that the current charging station that we have is not connected up to our best source of pressure production. That's over here where we have this fluid compressor that is able to work nice and fast. And so if we were to go ahead and place this down, let's say right about here, we should be able to charge these up much faster inside of this charging station just because there's so much pressure around already. Between streams, I did make yet more speed upgrades. And so if we quickly head down to our crafting table, we should be able to grab some of those. I think we have close to 30. We do. We got 28 speed upgrades. Perfect. I'll take all of those. And for now, we should be able to put, I think, up to 10 into the charging station here to make it significantly faster than it currently is. We totally can. I'm not quite sure what the maximum amount of pressure you can store in the boots is, but one thing that I have been told is that we can potentially put speed upgrades into the armor. And you'll see there's a ton of upgrades here that we can place into the armor. We have speed upgrades, we have gilded upgrades. A gilded upgrade in any armor piece is equivalent to wearing a piece of gold armor, and therefore useful for piglins. Interesting. Armor upgrades, if we're going to fight the Wither at some point, these are going to be a necessity. We also have the Flippers upgrade, which I assume allows us to swim faster. It does indeed. There is the Dispenser upgrade, which once installed in the boots, you can kick entities in front of you at a modest air cost. Kicked entities will take moderate damage and heavy knockback. Interesting. Stomp upgrade. The Stomp upgrade, when active, will damage nearby monsters if you drop on them from a great height. And then the Volume upgrade, I assume, just allows it to store more pressure inside of it. Item Life upgrade makes this armor piece slowly auto-repair at the cost of air. Very interesting. And then the Jet Boots upgrade, tier 1, 2, and 3. These seem useful as well. I don't know how expensive the Jet Boots are, but I assume these are going to give us kind of a pseudo-jetpack ability. The tier 1 variant doesn't seem too expensive. It does require some of these advanced pressure tubes, and for these, we do need the laser program, but we already have the laser program, and we already have the assembly controller all set up and ready to go, and so it would just be a case of putting 20 pressure chamber valves into the assembly controller, and that would get us 8 of those pressure chamber tubes, and then upgrading just requires feathers, and then it's only when we get to tier 3 that we need blaze rods and ghast tiers, which we can get through chickens, and we could look at trying to breed these together at some point in the future. It looks like we need the blaze chicken to get the ghast chicken, and then it looks like the blaze chicken here isn't craftable. It does say it spawns naturally, but I don't actually know if we find this. Oh no, we definitely do find this in the Badlands biome. Interesting. So if we wanted to go past tier 2, we'd have to go back to the Badlands to make that happen, and then we need Nether Stars and Dragon's Breath to go up further than that. But we should definitely look at getting that tier 1 version. Real quick though, let me take the boots out, and let's just see, by default, if I put these on, oh my goodness. I was wondering how much of a speed boost we'd get. It doesn't feel like much of a speed boost. I love the the animation. I love the screen there. Let me put the legs in as well, and I'm going to take 2 speed upgrades out here. I'm going to put those 2 speed upgrades directly into the leggings. I don't think we have any kind of like wireless pressure filling on the boots, unfortunately, so we are going to have to like come back here regularly, and that's where the volume upgrades I think are going to be very useful. In here, we got a jumping upgrade. We have a creative supply upgrade, which I guess would be the ideal situation, but I don't think we can craft those. Armor upgrade, again, the gilded upgrade, volume, item life, and speed. Okay, if I take this out with the speed upgrades in, does that have an effect? Oh my goodness, it does. So wait, is the speed upgrade only affected by the leggings? Because I noticed it said that, like, we've put them in the boots as well, but it seems that, like, in the legs, it actually has an effect, and maybe everywhere else it doesn't. Let me try putting them in. I'm going to take them off the boots, and I'm going to try putting them in, like, the chest plate, which is the next thing we're going to charge up here. I assume that's also not going to do much. If it doesn't, that's great, because it means we only have to spend 10 speed upgrades. What do we have here? We've got the security upgrade, charging upgrade. The charging upgrade, with 1 or more charging upgrades installed, your chest plate will automatically charge all other pressurizable items in your inventory. Either can be worn or carried. Interesting. So we can kind of fill this up and then use it to charge other stuff. Magnet upgrade, elytra upgrade. I assume that probably requires an elytra to get going. Range upgrade, installing your chest plate, you can reach a further distance, not including melee attacks. It's increased by 4 blocks. That is very interesting, actually. So we can just right-click stuff from further away. We've got volume, armor, item life, and dispenser again, as well as air conditioning upgrade. I don't know what the air conditioning upgrade does. Oh, I see. Right here it says each speed upgrade installed into the chest plate reduces this armor piece's startup time. So I assume that if we take this out, I assume that the boots say something similar here. Yeah, whereas I assume that the leggings here, yes, this actually allows us to run faster. So by startup time, I wonder if that just refers to the to this, like this kind of initialization that happens. Yeah, okay, there we go. So it takes a little while for the boots to kind of initialize if you don't have the 10 speed upgrades in them. Interesting, okay. That's not terrible, to be fair. Like, it's kind of fine. It does take a little bit of time, and we definitely could just put speed upgrades in to kind of make that a bit faster, but once we have them installed, I don't really think it's going to matter too much. And the extra speed is very much so welcome. It's going to allow us to move around the base so much quicker now. I love it. One thing we should definitely look at getting, though, are these jet boots. These seem like they're not going to be too difficult. Let's go ahead and get ourselves 20 of these pressure chamber valves. I think I made 16 of these before. I did, and so we actually have a bunch left in the system. So over here, if we do something like this, that should hopefully produce for us the advanced pressurized tubes. Nope, we just don't have enough pressure. That is fine. Over here, we are full up on crude oil, and so what we can do is we can go ahead and take some of these speed upgrades out and begin placing them in over here to start increasing that pressure just that little bit faster. We could even put the full 10 in, I think, especially given that we have the security upgrade that should prevent any explosions from happening. And I could use the time in a bottle here, but I think that would be needlessly risky. Now, one other thing that I would like to work on acquiring whilst we wait for that to do its thing, I would like to get an upgrade for our backpack, because we spend far too much time every single episode eating food, when there is a feeding upgrade available for the backpack that allows us to just dump our food into the backpack, and then the backpack will automatically feed us whenever we get hungry. Now, to make the feeding upgrade, we need a couple of things that we currently don't have. We need to get a golden apple, that we can just craft, easy enough. We need an ender pearl, which we do have available. We've got 18 of those. We also need a golden carrot and a glistening melon slice, along with an upgrade base. The upgrade base here requires 4 string, 1 leather, and 4 iron. That should be easy enough. I don't know if I have any leaves here. I don't, but we can, of course, get more of those fairly easily with shears. The glistening melon slice is just gold and melon. Melon we don't have, but melon seeds we do have. The only thing we actually don't have here is a carrot. Now, the carrots can be acquired sometimes through the Amadron system. Do we have any pressure in here? We do not. I'm going to have to charge that up as well. That is completely fine. Let's do a quick one of those. Over here, we're still not quite at the 3.5 bar required, and this is definitely not going to help it. But if we check, do we have any carrots for sale? We totally do. Now, the interesting thing here about the Amadron system, occasionally you will find carrots just available for sale. It does happen. If I press T here, you'll see that at certain points during the day, the Amadron tablet will put a little message in the chat and say that new daily deals are available. And so sometimes you just have to check regularly to get the carrots. One other thing that can happen is if you're playing on a server, you can also use the Amadron system to kind of trade with other players. For example, right down at the bottom here, you'll see that Scott Eric 58 is willing to trade 1 carrot for 5 relic scrap. And so if we put some relic scrap, 5 to be specific, into our chest, we should then be able to buy 1 carrot here from... Oh, I've lost my pressure. Okay, hold on. This is done though, which is fantastic. Let's take those out of here. I might take some of the speed upgrades out of my leggings. They are incredibly quick at this point in time. But if we do just 1 of these, place order, that should take the 5 relic scraps out of here. It should take them over to Scott Eric's base, which is somewhere around here. Not quite sure where they've set up their base. Oh, it's just down here to the bottom right of our base. And in turn, it should go and grab the carrots from their chest and bring me 1 over to here. It did. Nice. Apparently, I'm being told you can adjust the settings in the armor by pressing U. You can. Look at that. Oh, I see. So there's a slider for the run speed. Interesting. If I bring that down to 70%, that is probably a little bit more manageable. Okay, so now we do have what it takes to make the golden carrot. Perfect. And then in terms of the glistening melon, we should just be able to go ahead and plant this down. Let's say we plant it right about here. We can probably... I don't know if the time in a bottle works on this. I think it does. Maybe. But we can also look at getting some bone meal as well to potentially make that a bit faster. And so real quick, I'm going to try and accelerate the growth of this melon so that we can get the melon slice. And at the same time, I'll also go ahead and grab some more leaves so that we can make some more string using the mechanical squeezer and some green wool. So we've got the string here. We can, of course, use that to make our upgrade base. And the Twitch chat has pointed out here that we can use the cutting board, actually, from Farmer's Delight to kind of put some of this raw salmon to good use. If we go ahead and make a knife, any will do, we can place down the cutting board, place the fish onto the cutting board, and then right-click to get bone meal, as well as some raw salmon slices, which I assume we could then potentially look at smelting into cooked salmon. Yeah, that we could then eat. We could also craft it with rice, I guess, to make a salmon roll if we really wanted to. For us, though, it's just a way of utilizing the pesky salmon, and also getting some bone meal that we can then go ahead and utilize to make this stem grow faster. And then once the stem is grown, at that point, it might be possible. I also don't know if this needs to be, my vanilla knowledge is lacking here, but I don't know if these have to be like non-farmland blocks for the melon to grow on that. But once it is clear, we can accelerate this, and I'm hopeful that has some kind of effect on speeding up the melon growth rate. While we wait for that, though, I have done a fair bit of chicken breeding between streams. So over here, we now have a ton of diamond chickens in here, and that is because we now have 3 10 10 10 diamond chickens ready to begin producing diamonds for us at a faster rate. Over here, we also have 2 10 10 10 ender pearl chickens, and we also have a bunch of extra ender pearl chickens lying around as well. I was going to breed some gold chickens, but I think it's going to be easier and quicker for us to just take 250 gold and pump that into one of our regular 10 10 10 chickens. And the same is true for logs as well. You'll notice I'm carrying around over 250 logs on me because I also plan on converting one of these 10 10 10 chickens into a log chicken, and we're going to move the log chicken, the diamond chicken, the ender pearl chicken, and of course all of our other chickens over onto these stasis chambers over here. And then hopefully before the episode's out, we're going to set up a logistics drone to move the seeds over to those chickens to allow us to automate the production of these resources and kind of get rid of this somewhat janky setup that we temporarily set up a few episodes back. Over here, we do have melons. Fantastic. Our little harvester drone did harvest those for us. And so now back over here, we can craft up a glistening melon slice, and we can craft up the feeding upgrade. There is an upgraded feeding upgrade, but I don't really think we need it. The normal feeding upgrade feeds the player with food from the backpack's inventory. The advanced feeding upgrade feeds the player with food from the backpack's inventory, more options for when food gets fed to the player. It's not that expensive. And given that we do have the 10 10 10 diamond chickens now, I feel like we might as well go ahead and upgrade to the advanced version. Once we have it, we can then place it into the upgrade slot here. And over on the right-hand side, we now have these advanced options. So we have only feed when player is hungry enough to only waste half hunger points of the food at most. Only feed when player is hungry enough to not waste any hunger points of food at all. And feed as soon as the player is a tiny bit hungry, wastes quite a few hunger points on foods. I think we'll set this to no waste at all. So it's only going to feed us this bread when we have 2.5 chicken legs worth of hunger, which we currently have. And so I think, look at that, it's going to automatically feed the bread to us. And so going forward, so long as we have bread in our backpack, we shouldn't have to worry about eating. Our backpack is going to take care of that for us, and it's just going to continually feed the bread into our mouths. And so now all we have to worry about is continually drinking clean water. The Twitch chat is asking if it can also auto-drink water. I don't think it can. I can put that in to give it a try, but I'm fairly certain that it won't drink water for us because that's a different mod. It's not like a vanilla mechanic. I also don't believe there's a drinking upgrade, unfortunately. And so for the time being, we are going to have to continue drinking manually from our canteen. Back over here, though, let's see what were we missing for those jet boot upgrades. We were missing nothing, I think. Now that we have the advanced pressure tubes, I think we should be basically good to go. We'll make another one of these regular air compressors, and for that we are going to need more reinforced stone that we're going to have to craft up into some reinforced brick. That is completely fine. That gets us another air compressor, and that air compressor can then be crafted directly into the advanced air compressor, which is just an upgraded version that can produce more pressure and has a higher max pressure. And then we need 2 of these vortex cannons, which seem fairly straightforward. They do need some yellow dye. However, I do believe that yellow dye is for sale in here. It totally is. I'll take 2 of those. Fantastic. And then back in here, let's get 2 of these vortex tubes. 1, and we're missing a lever for the second one. That is very much so doable. I'll make a bunch of these just so we don't have to do the lever craft again in the future, should we need it. And boom, and boom. Look at that. Jet boots, tier 1. So do I need the tier 1 version to upgrade to tier 2? I do. We do have what it takes to upgrade to tier 2, but I just want to see initially what the kind of tier 1 version is like. So if we do this, and we take these out, can I now... Oh, of course, we got to wait for the initialization. You know what? Real quick, we have 12 speed upgrades in my inventory. Let's do this so it initializes nice and fast. Press U for armor setup. Do I have to jet boost? Oh, we have to set a hotkey. Bound to space. That makes sense. Enable hover. Enable smart hover. Enable jet boots. Oh my goodness. What in the world is this? Hold on. Why? We got so much information in the top right there. Okay. And then when I hit space, we enter like this kind of like, oh my. We enter like aircraft mode. That's madness. All right. Let me see about upgrading to the next tier here real quick. Let me take those back out. And we have what it takes to upgrade to tier 2. So let's do that just as soon as we make another set of these pneumatic cylinders, and also as soon as we make 2 more of these vortex cannons, which of course is just 2 more yellow die. So we'll go 1 and 2. Good stuff. Back over here, let's see about getting the tier 2 variant. I don't know. It doesn't give you any information about what the tier 2 variant does. I assume it kind of just allows us to move around faster. And then tier 3 is where it gets expensive, so we can't quite afford tier 3 just yet, but that's fine. Over here, let's throw the boots back into the charger, and then let's drop in the jet boot upgrade, tier 2. So now, when we hit space, oh yeah, no, we do definitely, oh, look at that, we do, oh my goodness, we do fly a little bit faster. That is kind of cool. I mean, I don't know how useful it is as a flying mechanism. It's pretty good, actually. I thought it was going to be way slower. It looks like we do kind of gain some momentum, like we gain some speed as we're going. This, you know what? I take it back. This is actually very cool. I enjoy this tremendously. Do we take fall damage if we land suddenly? Oh no, look at that. We got a nice soft landing. That's incredible. So I assume that, yeah, hide stat panel there. We can use that to kind of get rid of the stats in the top right if we don't want to see our speed and our altitude at any given point in time. Fair enough. Look at that. What else do we have here? So we got enable smart hover. Hover mode is only engaged when the thrust key is pressed, not when a player jumps or steps off the edge. So if I enable smart hover, pressure is low on the boots. Okay, that makes sense. 0.5 bar. I don't know how fast it uses the pressure. Hover mode allows the player to sink slowly or not at all with maximum upgrades instead of falling from the sky when not firing the jet boots. Interesting, okay. Enable builder mode. Enables more creative-like flight. So I assume this is maybe something that's required for, like a higher tier is required for this. Enables more creative-like flight. Thrust key climbs vertically. Also breaks blocks. So I assume that if we go to a higher tier of jet boots, then we can potentially look at getting like more of a creative style flight. But for the time being, we do have the ability to fly up to the top of locations if we need to. It's a little tricky to navigate. Like if I wanted to just fly up to the top of this, like it's doable. It's also, so we have like a slow feather fall now wherever we are, which is actually very nice indeed. And it's going to help tremendously for building. You won't believe how much damage I took when I was building these pillars here. But it does make it difficult to jump because as soon as I try to jump now, I end up in this flight mode just by default. So I could maybe look at rebinding the flight key to something else so that we don't always kind of automatically fly. And I assume that we could turn off hover mode, and that would kind of give us the normal fallback, and would also make it a little easier for us to kind of land exactly where we want to land. Oh, and there goes our pressure boots. Okay, fine. So in terms of pressure inside of the boots, it's probably going to be worth investing in volume upgrades for all of these. And speaking of volume upgrades, I think another thing that's almost certainly going to be worth investing in for us is the advanced liquid compressor. This is just the regular liquid compressor with some compressed iron and 2 advanced pressure tubes. And you'll see it says here, an advanced version of the liquid compressor, much faster generation rate, 50 ml per tick. So it's going to generate that pressure much, much quicker than our current setup. So if we were to go ahead and steal this, I do wonder if the oil carries over, actually. Like, we have 16 buckets in there. That 16 buckets is still in here. If I craft this into an advanced liquid compressor, does that get the 16 buckets as well of oil? It totally does. Nice, look at that. That is fantastic. So now back over here, if we replace this down like that, I'm hopeful that's connected. It's not, although I think with the wrench here, we should be able to rotate that. Fantastic. And then hopefully that's going to produce the pressure faster. Security upgrade wants to go in, as do the speed upgrades, and that's going to really start to crank the pressure up here, which is useful because then it allows us to charge up our boots faster. It now has a higher pressure as well. Real quick, actually, I think that we want to upgrade our pipes, which I've not done, but these pipes here can only hold 5 bar. And if we don't upgrade those pipes to higher tier pipes, then I believe that the pressure on the new setup is going to cause things to explode. I don't know how that works for things like the pressure chamber. Do I need to just put a security upgrade in here to allow this to not go over the 5 bar pressure limit? Because this one goes way higher than 5 bar. Let me go ahead then and grab more of these pressure chamber valves so that we can get even more of these advanced tubes. So if we do this, we do have enough pressure, I think, unless it drops just at the end there, which I'm hopeful it won't. It just needs to be above 3.5. Perfect. Good stuff. Okay, so there's 8 more tubes. So with those 8 tubes, we should be able to replace the pre-existing tubes that we have. Let me put these in my offhand so I can replace them quickly. Like that, to try and prevent too much pressure being lost. He says as he then places down a tube that just loses pressure instantly. There we go. And then this one has our little valve on it. I don't know how useful the valve is at this point. I think the valve kind of doesn't do much, given that we have the security upgrade inside of the liquid compressor. And so what I think I'll do is I'll make another security upgrade here, which does require 4 more obsidian. That is completely fine. We've got 2 buckets of lava, and we just need some water to go alongside that. That's fine. Let's do 1, 2. While we're at it, we should also do 3, 4. Good. And then we'll go and get as many buckets of water as we can carry, which in this case, annoyingly, is 3. But that's fine. The new speed upgrades do make this substantially easier than it was before. Good stuff. We should definitely look at getting a wireless crafting terminal as well sooner rather than later, I think, so that we don't have to keep running back to our crafting terminal. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's get another one of these security upgrades. I'm going to put that in front of the pressure chamber. And then let's replace down... I was going to say replace down a liquid compressor, but do we have the same problem with everything else here? So the charging station can go all the way up to 20, so that's fine. But the assembly controller can only go up to 5. And so I have a feeling that that's also going to need a security upgrade. Okay, so I've made another security upgrade here, but the Twitch chat has made me aware that this might not be the best option, because essentially, with things like the pressure chamber and the assembly controller, the security upgrade is just going to start deleting pressure, right? We're going to produce the pressure, and it's going to keep getting pumped into the pressure chamber and into the assembly controller, and the security upgrade is just going to keep releasing that pressure, much like we saw a second ago with the fluid compressor. And so the better way to solve this is utilizing the regulator tube module. This little nifty item is super easy to make. It's 2 safety tube modules and 1 pressure tube, and this allows you, if I press shift here, to limit the amount of pressure allowed into one side of the module. And so basically, we're going to put down our new advanced tubes that can go up to 20 bar. We're then going to place down the tube module on the end of it. And then next to that, we're going to place down our normal pressure tubes. And now we've basically created a little junction that's not going to allow more than 4.9 bar through. You'll see the threshold is currently at 4.9 bar. You can change that pressure. You'll see right here it says it's based on the redstone signal it receives. No signal is 4.9 bar. A full signal is 0 bar. So you can go lower if you want, but you can't go higher. And so this is kind of perfect for us. It does mean we're going to have to maybe move some stuff around, because essentially at this point in time, I want to have the pressure chamber and the assembler on one side of the network, and I want the charging station and that's it, I guess, on the other side, right? So what I think I'll do then in that case is I'll probably go ahead and move these 2 floppers. And maybe, yeah, no, this should be fine. What we'll do is we're kind of running out of platform space, and I kind of shouldn't really have built this so far off the edge, actually. We're already building over the edge. I put this log down temporarily to stop the oil flowing everywhere. But if we go ahead and move this, what we should be able to do is place down our advanced liquid compressor, let's say right about here. And then, and by here, I of course mean right about here, like that, because we want all of the floppers here to feed into it. Actually, no, that's perfectly fine. I keep forgetting we can feed directly into the liquid compressor. We want it like this, with a flopper here, not here, a flopper here on this side, and then another flopper on the other side as well. Not quite sure why the floppers take so long to break. I think it's because they don't have a designated tool that they break quickly with. But if we do then, what we should now be able to do is run the high pressure tubing directly to the charging station. And then from there, what I'll actually do, I'm going to break this. Going to break this. And then what we'll do is we'll put the charging station down, maybe just like right here. And then we'll go ahead and put down the tube, the new limiting tube. We'll put that down right about here, like that. And then we can just go back to using regular tube on this side for this and for this. So we don't need to use our new advanced pressure tubing here or here. Instead, we can just go boom and boom. And that should, I think, just work because now no more than 5 bar of pressure is allowed on this side thanks to the pressure tube. And just in case it does, we do now have security upgrades in basically everything. Of course, I'm going to replace that security upgrade into our liquid compressor, and we can put in all of the speed upgrades as well. And now we should be able to store up to 20 bar in here. Again, this doesn't need a security upgrade because there's one in the liquid compressor. The liquid compressor is going to prevent this section of the network from going over 20 bar. And more importantly, now in here, we should be able to charge up more and faster because we have all of that pressure available to us. And if we did something like this, we could temporarily make the filling of these boots here even quicker. And going forward, once we're up at 20 bar and we come over to put something in, it's going to allow us to hopefully very quickly fill up things like the pressure inside of our boots, inside of our leggings, inside of our chest plate, and inside of our eventual helmet. The Twitch chat also makes a good point here in that we can add a dispenser upgrade to this charging station, much like we did with our charging station in the farm. And in doing so, we should be able to just stand on top of the charger to charge our items. Now, to do this, we do need some nether quartz. And as I was saying a second ago, I do want to get more chickens going. Another chicken I do want to make is a nether quartz chicken. And so over here, I just put almost 5 stacks of mineral chunks into this chest, and then they've been slowly but surely charging into nether quartz. And so now we should have more than 250 nether quartz, which is what we need, of course, to get ourselves a 10 nether quartz chicken. We could, of course, have bred some of the lower tier chickens together, but the pumping of the chickens full of resources is just the fastest way to get that 10 chicken. And so in here, if we do this, we can now stand on top and potentially charge up. Look at that. We're just charging all of our armor, by the looks of it, simultaneously using the pressure inside of the charging station. Nice. That is very helpful. And it looks like the max pressure in here might be 20 as well, potentially. And you'll see in here that we're not going over 4.9 bar. It's kind of locked at 4.9 thanks to that regulator tube, which is good. Cool. So now that that's taken care of, let's pivot over and see if we can't get this drone up and running to move stuff to our chicken area. So for that, we're going to need a logistics drone. That's this one right here. This requires a logistics core, which is easy enough. We just need some more of the reinforced brick here, which is fine. We can do this, and then we can do this. So you got to craft it kind of a second time, like this, from brick into tile. Once we have the tile, we can get ourselves the logistics core. And once we have the logistics core, we can get a logistics drone just as soon as we craft up some more of these turbine rotors. Nice. Now, as I mentioned, if we want to program this, we need the programmer. The programmer here requires more of these turbine rotors. It requires 2 red dye, 1 stained black glass pane. It looks like it does specifically have to be stained black. That is fine. Over here, of course, we can get 2 more red dye very easily, utilizing our pre-existing scrap. And at that point, the only things we need are the turbine rotors and the black stained glass. That's fine. We'll get another... I was going to say we'll get a black dye, but we do have a plethora of ink sacs, actually, that have been plaguing our base. And so if we just do this, we can get the black dye very easily. And then from there, we can just craft our pre-existing glass around it. Never mind, we don't have enough glass. That is completely fine. We can smelt more, of course, over in our alloy smelter. And for now, I'll stick the salmon into my backpack so that our backpack can slowly but surely feed that to us as and when we need it. Speaking of which, whilst we wait for this to smelt, we can also go ahead and drink some more of our purified water. And once we have at least 8 glass in total, we should be able to do something like this and like this to get our black stained glass. And of course, that is our black stained glass panel. And so now it's just 2 more of these rotor blades, which, as we saw before, are just gold and redstone in the pressure chamber. And a few turbine blades later, boom, and boom, and boom, we have the programmer. Nice. So my first question is, does this require pressure? It does not. It does, however, require puzzle pieces. So what we'll do, we'll place this up in our pneumatic craft area, and we'll quickly grab some puzzle pieces. These are made with plastic and finished PCBs. 8, I think, should be enough. We can always make more if we need them. On top of that, I think we're going to need a GPS tool, which is a redstone torch, some more plastic, some more glass pans, and a diamond. Easy enough. So, I believe that over in the programming table, we can place our logistics drone in the top slot, I believe. Let's call this seed. Oh, hold on, I might not have the right drone here. I've got a logistics drone. The logistics drone says, an airborne robot which performs logistics tasks defined by inventories and or fluid tanks with attached logistics frames. That is interesting. I think the drone that I was looking to get was maybe just the regular drone, but it's quite possible that the logistics frames here might be better. So there's a logistics requester frame, a logistics storage frame, a logistics passive provider frame, active provider frame, and default storage frame. Interesting. So I assume the requester frame requests items and fluids from a logistics network, keeping a stock in the frame, inventory, or tank. This seems pretty straightforward. So I wonder, in that case, the programming table is interesting. I believe if you take a regular drone, you can utilize the programming table here to do some pretty nifty stuff. You place the drone in the top slot. You can then name it if you'd like. And then over here on the right-hand side, there are all of these puzzle pieces. And if you want to kind of set up a complex drone that does complex and specific tasks, you can do that with these puzzle pieces. So you'll see there are things like stop, which is what you do. You drag the puzzle piece over to the right-hand side, and then you can do other things from there by connecting them to these pieces. So let's say that you wanted the drone to pick up an item, and then take that item and teleport to location. You could then have it teleport to a different location if you grab this one and put it there. And you can also, you'll see that there are little options on the pickup item. I believe you can then potentially like whitelist what you want it to pick up. So if we find maybe like a filter, item filter. So you could item filter on here to tell it which items to pick up, right? And in here, you can add an item to a filter. So there's a lot of complex stuff that you can do with this programmer. And then once you're done with the little jigsaw puzzle here that you put together, you can then take the drone out and the drone will follow this task. It'll go from start, and then when it gets to the end of the task, it'll just loop it, I believe. And you can see here it's got difficulty. There's easy, medium, and advanced. You go to advanced, and there are a ton of options here in terms of like, different if-and filters and, crafting operations and drone conditions, like checking how much redstone flux it's got. And you can do really complex stuff to where it goes and does a certain thing if it has a certain amount of items in it or a certain amount of redstone flux left in it. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do with the drones, but I don't necessarily think that we need to do that because of the fact that I think the logistics drone kind of does all that for us. So the logistics drone, I think, is just going to work with these frames. And so I think we want a provider frame and a requester frame. I am interested, though, what the difference is between a passive and an active provider frame. So the passive provider frame provides items and fluids to a logistics network. A passive provider only provides to requester frames, whereas the active provides to both requester frames and storage frames. I see. Okay. So in that case, I feel like we just need a requester frame and a passive provider frame. I think those are all we need. And so for that, we need some lapis, which we do have, but a lot of our lapis is still not connected up to the system. That is something we should look at fixing. But if we go ahead and make a requester frame, boom, we then do also need to make, I think, some more of these logistics cores, which again are completely easy. We'll do this, we'll take these, and then we do the same again. We do this, right? It needs the tile. Let me just quickly check that. It does indeed. So we'll make 16 of those so we can make at least 2 more sets of these. And then let's get the passive provider frame, which again is just 1 more red dye. We are spending a lot of relic scrap here on dyes, but then again, the relic scrap is essentially free at this point by just selling our kerosene and whatnot. So let me go ahead and grab the passive provider frame. And then what we'll do is we will place down the passive provider frame onto this chest over here, this drawer, like that. Can I put it on the side? I totally can. Let me leave it on the side there. And then let's wiggle that one off. And so now if I go and put the requester frame over here, we're going to get another storage drawer, and that storage drawer is going to hold exclusively seeds because that is all that we're after. So I do want to get another one of these frame drawers here, and keeping in theme with our current design language, I'd love to go with the black brick and the standard marble front, like that. And what we'll do is we will place this down, let's say right about here, like this. And of course, we'll get rid of that oak log. We're going to replace that with some item pipes. So let me put a seed in there, and let me lock that drawer to seeds. Not that it should really matter, but we'll do this. And over here, I think we do have some seeds in our system. We do indeed. Let's drop those into the drawer, like so. And then let's put the requester frame onto here. I'm going to put this one on top, like that. And It does say that it works with a 31 by 31 by 31 area. I think these two are close enough together to where that might be within the range. If it's not, we could always look at adding range upgrades to the logistics drone. So I'm intrigued as to how this works. It says no whitelist and no items. I do wonder if we have to do any whitelisting if you can only put one thing in here. If I take a seed, can I add that by like right-clicking on it? No. Okay, so we've been doing some testing here to try and figure out how this works, and it looks like we might need to get a filter and add it to the frame. So if we type in filter, there are these two filters here, the classify filter and the tag filter. The tag filter, I think, is what we want here. This allows us to filter the items in the logistics frames by item tags that we can configure. To make this, we need to use the tag workbench. The tag workbench here is made with a book and quill and a display table. The display table seems easy enough to make. And then the book and quill should also be pretty straightforward if we have, I was going to say if we have a leather, which we do. And so, boom, and boom. That's our tag workbench. We place this down. In here, can I now tag, create a tag filter? Do I need paper there? Let me get some sugarcane. And if I put just some regular paper into here, can I tag? Potentially the answer is yes. Does Control O still work? It does, but that's for JI, not for the FTB stuff here. So tag filters, which can be used in logistics drone and drone item filters for advanced matching on item tags. Insert an item in the top left and some paper in the top right. I see. So if I wanted to filter, let's say seeds, could I place a seed in here? I could. And then how do I go about creating a filter here? Do I need more paper? We do have 114 sugarcane now, which is very nice indeed. And so if I do this, I doubt it is more paper that I need. Maybe I select what it is we want to move. In this case, it's forge seeds wheat. Move that over, create filter. Nice. Okay, cool. So let's give this a try. If I right-click this onto here, okay, that doesn't work. Do I craft it with the frame? Also, no. Can be inserted in a logistics frame filter slot or used as an item filter in the programming widget. Logistics frame filter slot. I see, apparently there's a logistics wrench that we need. Okay, I don't know why there's multiple different wrenches, but the logistics configurator, which I assume is what we're after here, requires red dye. People have pointed out that we can make red dye in the assembly controller if we buy the drill program, but to be fair, I think for now it's probably just quicker and easier if we still do this and then get this. And then, of course, as per usual, we'll go ahead and charge that over in here again, just because it's very quick at charging items. Look at that. You love to see it. Fantastic. So back over here, if I now right-click with this on here, there we go. Okay, I don't think we needed the filter at all, is the thing. I think all we needed to do was get the logistics configurator, right-click on here, tell it that I want to request the wheat seed. So in here, requesting items, wheat seed. I think that's legitimately all we had to do. And so now, if we put our drone down, I'm going to put the drone down somewhere in the middle. I'm going to get rid of this one here. This was a little test thing that we had going on that we don't need anymore. And I think if I craft this, we should be able to kind of pick all of them up. I was really, hoping they would stack. Fantastic. So now, if I place the drone down kind of somewhere in between these two drawers, again, this only has a 31 by 31 by 31 range, so if we put it down too close to this side, I don't think it's going to work. But let's do it, let's say here. I'm hopeful that that will potentially see that there are seeds over here. It might be the case that over here, we might have to use the wrench again to tell it what this is providing. Yes, you are providing seeds. And so, ideally, the drone is going to fly over because it sees that there's seeds. It's going to grab the seeds, and it's going to take them over to that chest over there. Now, the astute amongst you may notice that it's currently not doing that. And so let me dump a lot of the stuff here that we have into the system just to make a little bit of space for us. Why are you not doing that is my question. Okay, so I think the problem might just be distance, because this totally works. I've put this exact same setup over here, in that we've got, if I right-click on this, it's filtered for wheat seeds, and you'll see he just brought some wheat seeds, I believe, over to here. I think. At least he moved over and looked like he did. It's quite possible then that we could do with putting some range upgrades in this guy. Let me grab him. I can't help but notice that there are no wheat seeds in there, like just the one that we put in, maybe. It might be an item limit thing. Maybe I've got to tell it that I want it to keep filling it up. But let's, first of all, see about getting some range upgrades so that we can increase the range on this guy. For that, we need bows. Bows we can make. We made some string earlier, which is fantastic. And we'll take a few of these. We might need quite a lot of range upgrades if we want this to work well. For now, let's do something like this and kind of dump all of that lapis into the system. We've got that storage space thanks to that 16K storage drive that we made. And I do believe we should also be able to make a fair number of arrows as well due to the amount of feathers that we have. And so that should be a decent number of range upgrades. And by a decent number, I mean at least one more. Do we have the string? We don't have the string. We can make more. Let's initially, though, see if that's enough range upgrades, because I feel like it shouldn't be that much further away. Let's put you in here, and let's add the range upgrades. I'm also going to... Wait, I can't put range upgrades in here? I can't put range upgrades in here. That is very unfortunate. Okay. You might be watching at home and thinking, Isaac, this all seems like a whole lot more effort than it's worth to replace a, what should just be an item pipe. And you're right, it is. I'm going to put speed upgrades in this drone as well to make it faster. It definitely is. But I think it's going to be a cooler system if we can get it to work. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to move the draw then, in that case, and just put it closer, I think. So let's take this draw and let's place it down closer to the chickens. Okay, so it's taken a little bit of figuring out, but I am pretty sure that I know how we can get this to work now. I think we are going to need 2 drones because I think that the distance is just too far to do it all in one trip. So what I'm going to do is we are going to go quite a few blocks away from here. We're going to go 15 blocks away with this as the first block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the water. And then if we can get out of the water with these flying boots on, we've got 11, oh gosh, the boots make it so hard to jump. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 16 would be the center because it's a 31 by 31 radius. And so the drone is going to go down here, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think this should be within the range. And so if I were to put the logistics requester frame back on here, and then inside of that, if we make sure that it is requesting seeds, what we can do, by the way, is we can have multiple stacks. If you just put one seed in, it just requests one seed. What we want to do is we want to basically fill this thing with stacks of seeds. Although, to be fair, we could probably make it so that this only has one stack of seeds, because we don't... Oh, you can actually just add... You can click and then search for an item. That is way easier. But you'll see that does totally work. He's bringing those over. This... I'm going to take these boots off for a second. This right here doesn't need more than a stack in it at any given time, I don't think. So we can probably lower that filter. But for now, this is fine, right? So you'll see this guy, he's bringing wheat seeds over, and he's going to keep bringing wheat seeds over until he gets to 6 stacks, right? Then all we're going to do is we're going to get another draw, and we're kind of going to duplicate this system in the opposite direction. So what I'm thinking is we'll go ahead and we'll get another frame draw like this. We will, of course, color that with the dark brick and the marble, like so. And we're going to place this draw, of course, down where we wanted to place it initially, which was right about here, like that. Then we're going to, once again, lock that to wheat seeds, like so. We're going to put another one of these logistic requester frames on the top, like so. And again, this time around, we do want this one basically as full as we can possibly get it with seeds. Just keep pumping them in there until you can't pump them in anymore. So this is the maximum number of seeds that we can store in here. That's perfect. And then over here, we are going to need another drone. I'm a little concerned that if I put a passive requester, a passive provider, sorry, onto the side of this, the drone, the second drone, and even this drone might just take seeds from here and just try and feed them back in, which would not be ideal. And so we might have to figure out a way to kind of rectify that. Okay, I think we can utilize the different frames that we saw earlier to make this happen, because the current frame that we have is the passive provider frame. This provides only to requester frames. And so I think what we want to do is we're going to take our range, we're going to move this. Again, I need to, I don't know if you can take these off. Like shift right clicking there doesn't do anything. I think I might just have to break it like this. We're going to take that off, and we're going to put this over here. this is going to be a passive provider that is going to provide to that requester frame over there. Then we're going to remove this requester frame like that. We're going to replace that with a storage frame, and then we're going to use an active provider frame for the other setup. So we need a purple die for the active provider. That's fine. And then if we're going to make the storage frame, we need a yellow die. That's also completely fine. We'll take one of those as well. Thankfully, we did make a bunch of these logistics cores earlier. So the storage frame and the active provider frame are both easy enough to make. Surprisingly, it's just sticks that we're missing. Kaboom. And so here, what we should be able to do is put a storage frame onto this chest in place of that previous requester frame. So we'll put that down like that. And then over here, we're going to do the active provider frame because this provides to both requester frames and storage frames. And so that's going to provide to this storage frame over here, whereas the passive provider only provides to requesters. So this can't provide to the storage frame. It can only provide to the requester. And so now putting this guy down over here should complete the system. This drone is now able to move the seeds still over to here. And if we quickly go and get another drone, we should be able to complete this slightly overly complicated system. We just need one more logistics drone. For that, we need 4 of these turbine rotors, which means that we need to get a total of 12 blades, which in our case is 12 gold. We'll go for 16 just because it's an easier number to get, and 32 redstone. And so let's go boom and boom. And once we have those blades, we can head on back over to here, and we should be able to make 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And boom. Nice. Okay, let's take that down. Let's go charge it, of course, in our charger. Kapow. Would love some speed upgrades in there. We should definitely make some more to make this faster, because right now it is a little bit slow. Let's do something like this to try and make that a decent bit faster. We can put those back in there for now. And then we have an interesting situation on our hands where I'm fairly certain the logistics drone over here will go to this charger because he's close enough, but this drone might not be able to. So if I put this here, this guy should, I think, do what we want them to do. Speaking of which, we are going to have to add, I think, to the passive... Oh, no, you're already active on the passive provider. Is this going to work? I didn't have to put anything on the storage frame. No filtering was required there. That just worked. You are not working. This might be still too far away. Hold on. Let me do some counting and see if we're not too far away. All right. I think we have it taken care of. So I had to move the drawer a little bit because initially it was like over here and it was just like 1 or 2 blocks too far away from that drawer over there. But we are now in business. This drone is close enough to that drawer to get the seeds and bring them over. This drawer over here doesn't have the speed upgrades, which is why this guy is so slow, but he's able to come over, grab, I think, a stack, of seeds, and then he slowly but surely takes them over to this drawer. And chat, we have managed to successfully overcomplicate what could have just been like a stack, maybe a stack and a half of item pipes, but we do now have an automatic drone delivery service that takes the seeds from our storage drawer, puts them into the intermediary point, and then drops them off finally over at the end point here. And so now, of course, we can take these seeds and we can pipe them directly into all of our chicken stasis chambers. And my plan here, by the way, is going to be to make just a bunch of the 2x1 drawers, the framed version of the 2x1 drawers, and then just use the marble bricks as kind of the sole decoration for it. If we really wanted to, I guess we could maybe also put like a plain front on. But essentially what I'm thinking of doing is putting a drawer like this directly beneath, and then that way what we can do is we can take, for example, one of our chickens, and I currently don't have a chicken catcher on me, but if we were to grab a chicken catcher real quick, which I think requires string, now that I think about it, totally does, so we have to get some more leaves for that. But if I was to take, for example, my iron chicken off here and place him into this nest, below, we can lock this drawer to iron ingots and feathers, and then we'll have the same for copper ingots and feathers. And basically, they're all going to have drawers in, so that way when we put the blocks back down, you can't tell that there are drawers there, or at least it's a little bit more difficult. You can kind of tell a little bit because the texture's slightly different, but we'll then pump from there round to a centralized chest like this, and we'll have, again, the importer like we have over here, pulling in all of the final products. And yeah, between streams, I'm going to move over all the chickens we currently have, and I'll probably also set up little areas for all of the chickens that we now have as well, like the diamond chicken, the enderman chicken. I'll probably also go ahead and feed those log chickens and the nether quartz chickens because we have the quartz and the logs ready for those as well. Same with the gold. We'll take the gold as well and get a gold chicken going. We might even look at getting a lapis chicken as well, just so that we don't have to reset up another one of these lapis generators that we have over here, we could just go ahead and feed, 250 lapis that we have more than enough of to a chicken to get a lapis chicken going. And next time, chat, we'll come back and we'll finally start on the Dimensional Collections section of the quest book. We'll get started with Big Power, see about getting a big reactor up and running. And then right now we don't need the power necessarily from Big Power, but we do need Cyanite, which you get as a byproduct from running the reactor, to progress with the Nether quest line here and get things like Netherrack, Netherite, Skulk, and Soul Sand. And then, of course, move on to getting Nether Stars, Netherite, and Endstone before we can move into the Ender Watt questline. But those are our problems for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Desertopolis there.